Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Scaling Vision podcast. I welcome you all. Today we have with us Dr. Rajsi Sen Gupta. I welcome you to the podcast, ma'am.
Hi.
We're going to call this Legacy Meets Innovation. And before I dive deep into the podcast, ma'am, you are famous for being a third generation doctor in a city like Nagpur.
Yes.
So let's start from there.
Sure.
Tell us about it.
Yes, you're right. I am a third generation gynecologist. My mom's mom. So, Dr. Mrs. Maltibai Kurve. She is my grandmother, my nanny, and she was the first girl in CP and bearer of those times
My goodness.
who won a gold medal and went on a scholarship to do her MBBS at Lady Hardinge Medical College in Delhi.
क्या बात है.
She was the oldest of 11 siblings, and obviously her father couldn't afford to pay for her medical tuition. So she earned a scholarship, went there, did her own MBBS, and then came back, married my grandfather, and then started her own private practice.
What year
So
was this?
This must have been sometime around 1958.
My goodness.
And that was, I think, the first nursing home where she actually delivered mothers who were earlier having home deliveries
Oh.
or deliveries with midwives and dais.
This was in Nagpur.
Yes, very
Oh.
much. So that was our old house at Ramdas Pet Canal Road.
Okay.
That's where she started her nursing home.
Oh.
And then she also had one more clinic in Delhi,
Right.
in Burdi in Modi number 3. So it was a very humble start, but with her finesse and with her good luck, I must say, they prospered. And then eventually my mom also went on to become a gynecologist and also a teacher.
Okay.
Before she started her own private practice, she was a teacher at Sevagram Medical College. So actually, for me personally, gynecology was not my first choice.
Okay.
But then destiny had something else in mind. So I had ended up here and absolutely no regrets.
Nice.
So that's how it is.
So, what was your earliest memory of wanting to be a doctor?
My earliest memory of wanting to be a doctor was the happiness I would see with the patients who brought their little babies to my mom.
Okay.
As a child, many times I would be just playing around with her when she was looking at her OPD in her clinic. And I could remember the happy tones in which the patients would talk to her. Or sometimes I would see her counseling them very empathetically with a hand on their shoulders. So that was something which really I felt, yeah, I like that. I want to be like that. I want to be like her.
So, was this a very specific moment that made it, this cemented the thought कि चलो
This
यही
must have been
करना है?
as early as maybe when I was 9 or 10.
My goodness.
So I don't think I remember. I don't have any other option in mind as a child. मुझे तो डॉक्टर ही बनना है.
I guess most children who come from medical families nowadays they're thinking about different things,
Yes,
but way back
and
then,
yes.
I don't think they ever thought about it much.
That's very true. That was one of the factors. And if you're like academically good, girls of those times didn't have much choice.
Right.
Engineering was not something what a girl would prefer to do. And coming from a doctor family, it was much natural for me to go ahead with that choice. Although my sister definitely had a very clear no for anything related to medicine.
Oh,
She is a PhD in chemistry.
lovely.
So, but I was very much interested in human beings and something related to that.
So, but this is a title that this is the tag that you have now. You're a third generation gynecologist. Is this a pressure of the legacy that you're carrying forward? Do you feel?
No,
Is it privilege or is it pressure?
it's a big privilege.
Okay.
It's a big privilege, it's grace. I do feel that as I treat my patients in today's world, I have grace of these two ladies with me, and it helps. It's a very loose word in Hindi called barkat, which says that you touch and something it turns out to be good for your patient. That blessing comes through something more divine.
क्या बात है. But you've done your gynecology and obstetrics. Before we begin, for people who are watching this, could you just explain what is gynecology and obstetrics, the difference?
Yes. So it's basically obstetrics and gynecology is all related to women's health. Obstetrics is related to the pregnant women. Okay. And gynecology is related to the non-pregnant women. But in all, 100% of my patients are women with their reproductive health issues.
Right. So, of all the things that you could do in your life in terms of this and have an easy life,
Yes.
you decided to go into critical care obstetrics.
Yes.
That is in medical term, as doctors say, that is a headache of its own.
No, it's actually very challenging and
Definitely.
very evolving actually.
Right.
It's very dynamic. Every month, every year you're coming up with newer guidelines, newer modalities, newer techniques to save mothers. So I think it's very fresh and alive all the time. It's not going to be very stagnant and just the same old stuff.
But why choose the heavy duty risk zone of risky obstetrics?
थोड़ा action तो life में होना चाहिए.
चाहिए. So I think you were the first person who set up the first obstetrics ICU in the city.
Yes.
What were the hurdles शुरू करने में that you faced?
So, among even the peer group, there was not much awareness about that. So, any of our obstetric critical cases would actually go to a regular ICU, and some of the problems were there, as in terms of the kind of medications we use. Say, for example, a convulsion in pregnancy. किसी को झटका आ जाता है. So, we don't give the same drugs that we give to a non-pregnant person or to a male patient. It's different. So, ये जो physiology in pregnancy is different. So, to treat those patients is we need to have some SOPs or people who are trained in OBGY to do that. So, it took me some time to make that concept popular amongst even the peer groups. But a big advantage I had was that I already had an ICU because my husband being a cardiologist himself, so we already had an ICU setup. So I just needed to bring in my SOPs, my staff, train them up a bit, and things were much better.
But what was there a demand for these things?
Yes, definitely. There has always been a demand.
Okay.
It was just unrecognized.
Okay. And how did other hospitals react to this?
Very well. Very soon, Dr. Barokar sir and others also started up, and now it's a norm. Many patients, many doctors actually have few beds dedicated to obstetrics in their own ICU. So it's now a very routine stuff.
So, any particular case that has stayed with you emotionally?
Oh yes, definitely. So there was this one lady who we actually even published that case. She was a previous cesarean section and she came with heart failure in the 3rd month of her pregnancy. So my husband already does a lot of work in heart failure. In fact, he has a PhD in heart failure too. So he has been treating a lot of non-pregnant patients, male patients also in heart failure. And he has quite a lot of stuff on Google. So this lady read about him and came over.
Okay.
This was early pregnancy for her, 39-year-old lady, previous one cesarean. So we suggested, would you want to go ahead and terminate it because it's going to be very risky for you? And she was very positive and very strongly wanting to continue. She said, no, I'm going to get through with this baby. I want this baby and you just treat me. And she was on her follow-up. And at the 8th month of her pregnancy, she one day just in the morning just showed up in heart failure. Completely dyspneic. She was breathless and she was in labor. And we decided we couldn't wait any further. We had to take her up for a cesarean. So now with her heart condition, we are now opening her up. So the whole team was ready. My husband is there. My assistant is there. We opened her up. And then by God's grace, the baby was out. She did not have any excessive bleeding. We closed her up. We closed the abdomen. And then we were moving her out of the OT. That's when, as soon as I just took off my gloves and de-scrubbed and went out of the OT, and suddenly my anesthetist calls me, ma'am, please come inside. As soon as I went inside, he was giving her a resuscitation. She went into
crashed.
asystole complete. पूरा heart बंद, breathing बंद, सब कुछ बंद. So he was pumping her chest, and then the entire team came in. We revived her, After 20 minutes, she again went into the same.
Oh, okay.
We thought now we have lost her. But by God's grace and by her own confidence or whatever is the divine design, she survived. So the next day in the ICU in the morning, she's this nice chatty small plump lady, very sweet faced. And then she's telling me, you know something, I had this vision that this doctor was trying to put some chest something on my chest, but I could see myself. She was standing next to
yeah.
her own self, like people do get this near death
Out-of-body
experiences, out of
yeah.
body experiences. And then she said, I saw this bright white light, and my husband was standing there with a आग in his hand, a fire in his hand. तो मुझे चिता में आग लगाने के लिए, तो मैंने उसको बोला कि नहीं रुको, मेरा बच्चा है, मुझे वापस जाना है उसके पास. She had delivered a baby boy. So she had this surreal, metaphysical, paranormal experience, and we were stunned to it because obviously वो just consciousness में आई थी. This is the second day in the ICU, and to my whole team she's telling that we were like, wow, that's something. So that's one thing which stayed with me for quite some time. And luckily now she came back a couple of days back with her 5-year-old son.
There is a complete I think a different podcast I can do on near-death experiences.
Oh yes,
that is a very different
in fact,
thing.
I would like to share a personal experience. I myself have had near-death experience
What?
in my own pregnancy.
Tell me.
Yes, my second child, and almost the same thing happened. I had this very rare cardiomyopathy which was hitherto undiagnosed. So in fact I have been published in the Indian Heart Journal as one of the first cases of that Takotsubo's cardiomyopathy in pregnancy.
God.
So my case has been published. So just everything went fine and people are rejoicing, and then I went into heart failure. And at 2:30 in the night, my brother-in-law from the US is coordinating, and we are sending him my echocardiography images, and he said, no, this is not peripartum cardiomyopathy, this is a very rare variant. And I remember I have seen that white light. It's such a bright one, but it's not a glare, it's a very soothing light. So after coming back, you are a new person.
Yes.
Your perspective on life,
I've read about that.
on relationships, the way I look at my son, it's all very different. So that actually kind of ignited my passion for critical
care. Okay. Nice.
That's how it all started.
So, see, you being passionate is one thing, but you training your team to be able to do what you want to do with the same rigor and passion,
Right.
delegating work,
Right.
is a completely different, altogether ball game. So, how do you train your team? What did it take? SOPs is a big thing, I know,
Yes.
but implementation of SOP is a big thing. How did you manage that?
Actually, I'm lucky to have a team who's all equally
Okay.
dedicated. So since they basically have a training of the regular ICU, so obstetrics was all just an addition for them. But they are very sincere in their follow-ups and implementing or the drug dosages, the monitoring that needs to be done, which is the mainstay of the obstetric critical care. Here we are looking at two lives, the mother and the baby. So we have to be doubly careful and alert.
Right.
The physiology, the parameters, the lab reports, all will be a little different in the pregnant ladies as compared to
Definitely.
non-pregnant patients.
But now then, when we talk about all these things nowadays, there are so many technological advances happening, and nowadays there is AI coming.
Yes.
There's a lot in ophthalmology. I know. I don't know about if AI is how AI is changing gynecology and obstetrics.
Definitely, it's
so, what are the different ways in which it is changing your world?
So right now we are in an overlap. It's a major flux going on. So what we are looking at is training our humans to make the best use of AI. We are not yet at the position where we can let go of the human touch. I still need my person to go and monitor her fetal heart, or at least understand and interpret what's going on in that tracing which is coming there. So that's why I need human intelligence to be in place. But I can reduce the error margins big time by involving AI.
Definitely. So, sorry, but we have this machine in ophthalmology called as OCTs. So, they basically take a fundus photography.
Right.
And then you map the retina layers by layer it maps it on
Right.
it's like a tomogram.
Yeah.
And then layer by layer you see kahin pe there is swelling or there's edema or
Okay.
different pathies accordingly. So what the newer age machines have, they have an inbuilt data set of, it has been trained on multiple uh, images.
Correct.
Right? So when it sees an error of seemingly normal fundus photography, it would see subtle changes in the vessels and it would point out that this is probably early start of diabetes.
हाँ.
And then patient की sugars भी नहीं बढ़े हैं. I've experienced this. I've told patient एक बार sugar profile करा लो. Sugars are normal. HB1AC was normal. I have said do a test called as HOMA-IR. That is basically, so we found insulin resistance.
Yeah.
So this was very different.
Yes.
But what we have also noticed in certain cases is वो मशीन एक चीज बोलती है, but when you yourself use a fundoscope and go
Correct.
have a look at the retina
Correct.
yourself,
Correct.
we have seen cases when the machine has missed certain parameters which you can see with your own eyes.
Correct.
So
Correct.
you cannot rely on machines
No,
all the
you
time.
can't. Plus,
But
they
it-
are also in learning phase.
obviously,
right?
but they definitely make your life easier.
Easier.
Right. But are there any tools like this, like we have in gynecology, where they help you in
So they are
diagnosis or
coming up.
decision making?
Yes, yes, definitely. They are coming up big time. We have this large amount of AI influx now coming in our labor monitoring, in fact.
Okay.
Like monitoring the heart rates, monitoring the level of the baby's descent. So lot of stuff and lot of research and stuff is going on in that field. But then, as I said, we are on an overlap. And right now, till I get a robot who will be able to catch the baby, I am still going to depend on my
Obviously.
human intelligence.
But then let's talk about IVF also.
Oh, yes.
It is changing lives in big
yes,
ways.
definitely.
It has changed the landscape forever, lives also.
Bilkul.
What has changed in the past 10 years in IVF?
Massive sea of change. Every month we get something new, something more interesting, something more fascinating. And actually, if you look at OBGY, the as you said, the entire landscape is the skyline is different ever since IVF has come in a big way. So we started from very primitive methods of getting the embryos together and then putting them inside to now we come to pre-implantation genetic diagnosis even before the embryo is put inside the mom. And then now we are going ahead with even further absolutely genetically choosing the kind of embryos you are going to get. So gene sequencing will come in a big way. So lot of new stuff coming up there. But again, as I said, as we get into all these technicalities and technology, I personally always feel, I'm at the risk of being called old school, I personally feel you should not leave apart the moral or the ethical values. So
Okay.
that's very crucial, even for newer gynecologists. That's my 2 words of wisdom.
But in terms of IVF, I think this procedure always has been a little
It's always been
a
in the
little
gray.
expensive.
Yes,
no, in terms
always.
of monetary
Yes,
thing,
yes,
it's an
definitely.
expensive procedure.
Yes.
So access to this thing is very limited. Only people who can afford it.
No, not
So,
anymore.
no,
in
but
fact.
my question is, over the
Yes.
years, has the access to this procedure been more to people with advancement in technology,
Yes.
and has the awareness also evolved?
Yes, both.
Okay.
Yes to both. Awareness, definitely. Access, yes, definitely. Now we have centers who are doing it at extremely subsidized costs.
Okay.
We have centers, good IVF centers, even in government setups.
Okay.
So that is absolutely accessible universally. Awareness, yes, definitely. Earlier there used to be like a big apprehension. Nowadays,
There was a taboo around this.
and the threshold for accepting an IVF is much low now.
Okay.
So they try for some time and then they're like, okay, it's not working, let's go and
Let's
do
go.
IVF.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so that
That's
is
good.
the shift we see in the couples these days.
And nowadays there is this new trend of freezing eggs.
Yes.
A lot of
Yes.
people are doing
Yes, yes.
it. Is it good? And why is this happening?
Should I call it giving women a chance? A better chance?
I don't know. I mean, you.
So actually, since now women are also wanting to focus on their careers and the eggs won't wait till that time. So makes sense to have them harvested in a younger age and freeze them till maybe at a later date when the couple feels comfortable, when she is ready to have a pregnancy. you can use her own biological eggs, have your biological baby
Right.
with the lesser chances of, see, as a woman ages, the eggs also age.
Right.
And then the problems of genetic anomalies is higher
Yeah, late pregnancies have
later.
Down syndrome and all
Yes,
those things do
yes.
have later.
So if you have eggs at an earlier age, like you have an egg of a 28-year-old woman who's getting pregnant at 38, you have a better chance.
But then, if you take an, let's say in the example you said, you take an egg of a 28-year-old, you freeze them, and then she can probably think about it after 10 years.
Yeah.
What is the surety that they will remain frozen? They will be viable after 10 years also.
So we do have these written MOUs and all that.
Okay.
So it's very legal. It's
And
very
what is the
official.
process of freezing if somebody wants to know?
So it's better that you go and contact because it's going to be a long lecture how to do the egg freezing. Maybe you should talk to your IVF specialist, so
Okay.
they'll explain it to you in great details.
Nice.
All your personal questions or your worries will be addressed very nicely.
Are younger women taking their reproductive control seriously? Because
Yes.
a few of my gynecology friends, they
Yes.
have been telling me they see a very big rise of early age pregnancies nowadays happening.
Absolutely.
So
Yes, they are, and then they are not as well because in our country abortions are very accessible, very easy. So the girls start earlier. Sometimes they mess up. Sometimes they end up with needing to get an abortion done. But on the whole, the awareness is much better. Information is much better. The accessibility to reproductive health is much better. And the girls these days, they are not shy. They are not scared. They walk up to us. They ask us.
they ask
So-
for IUDs and
Yes,
all of it.
yes, they do.
Okay.
So that way, even contraceptive choices are better. So
Okay.
they are very well read, well informed, and they have their clarity of what they want.
And why do we see a rise of PCOS and infertility rising? What is the
So
reason?
actually, till date, we don't know the exact cause, but we are postulating it to even lot of stuff related to lifestyle and environmental toxins.
What do you mean by the environmental toxins? Just general pollution.
No, even the deodorants that you use, even the makeup that you're using
Okay.
could be creating problems and toxins inside your body leading to PCOD. So we are on that research path right
okay.
now.
But
That
what-
is the latest research.
And what about infertility?
So it's acting at the epigenetic level.
Okay.
It could be hereditary. You could have a tendency, but maybe toxins were not as much in your mom's generation as they are in yours. So you're facing the brunt of both.
So it's a lifestyle change?
Yes,
is to blame?
definitely. Yes. So lifestyle, actually, it's not when we talk of lifestyle, most people very loosely think it's just diet and exercise, but it's related to your mental health. It's related to your sleep pattern. It's related to even your maybe alcohol and substance abuse, which is very rampant these days, which many times goes undeclared.
I
So
mean,
all of those
earlier,
do contribute.
I think few years back, alcohol and substance abuse was limited to
Men.
basically.
Yeah, majorly.
And over
But
the
smoking nowadays.
smoking, and nowadays,
And
I think this has become gender neutral.
oh yes.
It's,
Oh yes.
It's the same.
And most
either way.
girls make that big mistake of thinking it's cool.
Ha.
It's a part of your belonging to a peer group.
I think even men also start smoking and drinking because they think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's the mistake is
Yeah.
not gender specific. I think we are stupid at a very early age, and you just don't correct yourself. But when all such things are happening, infertility, PCOS,
Yes.
all these girl goes through all these are traumas only chota
Yes.
at a very early age.
Yes.
Do you see mental health being challenged at a very early age
Yes.
nowadays?
Definitely.
And the reproductive health also goes for a toss then.
It's very intricately related.
Okay.
In fact, for a woman, you must have heard, like in your training and education, you must have heard these exam aa gayi, periods nahi aaye. It's directly related to the stress.
You're right.
परीक्षा का टेंशन है, पीरियड्स नहीं आए हैं या irregular हो गए. So the female reproductive system is so closely connected to the mental health that it's almost one thing or the other. So it's essential that the kind of upbringing we do to our daughters, our young girls, you have to make them understand healthy lifestyle. You put her in some kind of a physical activity, some sport, some kind of way in which she is not going to internalize her stress, some kind in which she is going to have a healthy self-esteem, that she doesn't get into substance abuse, promiscuity, those things. So it's very crucial for as parents or even as a society at large that we look at our younger generation in that manner.
What is the future of gynecology that you are seeing? Because what I'm talking about is nowadays we are getting precision medicine, CRISPRs, and are we gonna have targeted treatments for hormonal therapies and all?
Till now, we haven't decided to have a knocked down baby and built it up. So still, obstetrics is very much going to be at where it is. We are still going to need to deliver babies through the womb. But yes, in the kind of interventions, the investigations, the pharmacology, the treatments, they have definitely a world apart of what it was in the previous generation.
In the future, will we see a reduction in the number of C-sections happening? Because time and again we see a lot of them being flagged.
Reduction in C-sections, it depends upon which situation you are looking at. See, there would still be a lot of normal deliveries in primary and village health centers where you are having low risk patients, smaller babies, more physical activity in the women. But as you come to the urban areas, the metropolises, there are various other challenges. You have IVF conceptions, you have precious pregnancies, you have elderly gravidas. So all these adds up. We are not in that generation where 7, 8, 9, 10 बच्चे हो रहे हैं.
But that's a different question. My thing was, I have seen a lot of my friends, they opted for
cesarean on demand.
Cesarean on demand. I don't want to go through that pain thing and all. But
it depends upon the doctor's counseling of the patient.
So the doctor can say a no.
Yes, definitely. You can offer her pain relief during labor. The most thing they are worried about is the pain.
Pain, yes.
If you give her a pain relief and you are with her, you support her, then definitely.
What excites you the most about what's coming in gynecology?
Oh, everything.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm at the hem of it right now.
Oh.
So, since now I'm in the teaching line, being the head of that department, it's always that I'm getting in touch with so much new academia, so much new research, and the postgraduate residents, they bring in their own lot of enthusiasm and youthful energy. So it's a nice blend that I get to work with, and it's a lot of fun.
Nice. Let's talk about your academics.
Sure.
Your experience at Mayo Clinic in US.
Fantastic.
And what was it about, and how did it shape your approach in care of your patients?
Yes. So when I went to the Mayo Clinic as a visiting clinician, so that's majorly on gynecology, and that's where I learned of vaginal surgery. So my mentor used to do this non-descent vaginal hysterectomies, which was till that time a very new concept in India, in Nagpur especially. Laparoscopy was already here to stay, but to remove an entire uterus without even one single puncture on the tummy directly, just the way we have babies delivered through the vagina, in the same way uterus would be delivered. So there was this...
I'm just thinking how it's happening in my head.
So this is this concept where you are using natural orifices to do surgeries.
Is it broken down into pieces and then...
No, you can take it out in
toto?
Yes.
Really?
A good sized, decent sized uterus will come out with the fallopian tubes and ovaries together. I have tons of those pictures of my own surgeries. So that's what ignited my passion for surgery. My mom is in fact a very good surgeon, and she has
Still
been
operates?
one of... Yes.
Why?
No, not now, like couple of years she stopped, but my very first lessons, my baby steps into surgical field was by seeing her, then assisting her. Seeing her. She had very fine tissue respect. That is one word she would always teach me. Have tissue respect and understand the anatomy, the planes, and you will never get into bloody fields and complications injuring other organs. So that thing was always there when I opted for OBGY. But seeing my mentor operate at the Mayo Clinic, that was a whole new world of what all can be done. So I went ahead and trained myself further with Dr. Kubde sir also, and then now I'm proudly a vaginal surgeon.
then you went to Figo, Rio.
Oh yes.
What was that experience like?
Oh, that was amazing. So that was my first international conference myself, presenting a paper there. I had presented some data from our own hospital. But meeting the people there, you understand that आप जितने ही बड़े हो जाओ, आपसे बड़े बहुत बड़े लोग यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं. And it just taught me to be like serious level humble and grounded. And no, कि मैं जितने ही gold medals ले लूँ, these people sitting in front, they are the real gurus. And there's so much to learn from them.
Obviously.
They have 30, 40 years of experience when they speak. The way they talk, the way they address, the way they deliver an oration. It's always so humble and grounded that if you have a question, they actually look at you and they are interested in having a conversation. It's not like, I know, I have been there, done that. ऐसा कभी नहीं होता है. तो ये एक बहुत डिफरेंट एक्सपीरियंस मुझे मिला एट फिगो व्हेन आई went through all the scientific sessions. So, and it continues. So
But was that your first presentation at a global stage?
At a global stage.
What was it like? Thrill or pleasure? What was it?
Both thrill, butterflies in stomach, and anticipation. But it was nice. It turned out to be nice. I could answer all the questions.
You learn a lot at international forums.
Yes,
This is what I've
very
seen.
different questions they have. Their perspective is very different from the way we look at a thing in India, in our country. Their perspective is something very different.
Very different. How do you create talks that connect to the audience? I mean, over the years you've mastered the art, I'm sure.
So I make it more like a storytelling.
Okay.
It all depends on the audience actually.
Definitely.
If I'm looking at a very technical like gynecologist, I tend to be more technical.
Mm-hmm.
But then if I'm looking at maybe a school health talk or maybe somewhere like on a non-medico audience, then I make it more engaging, more storytelling with one or two take-home messages which they need to understand. Say, why am I standing in front of you? This is what I need you to know.
You also teach MUHS fellows.
Yeah, I used to. Yeah.
Used to.
Yes.
Okay.
That was when I was in practice at Sengupta.
So what was that like?
Oh, so again, because I had this great interest in academia always, so I decided I wanted to do some teaching here. So we had enrolled and I got a critical care fellowship for my hospital. So I trained 2-3 fellows, but then I joined at Datta Mekhe Medical College.
Okay. And now you're the HOD.
Yes.
So you have a busy schedule, you have a hospital of your own, you
Yes.
have academics that you do yourself, you are teaching students, you are head of the department,
Yeah.
and yet you find time for your personal activities, you sing, you dance, you
Yes.
act. How do you make the time?
Oh, that's essential. Otherwise, I'll burn out. I think every one of us, we should find a niche for ourselves. I have to work better on that though, but I love all these things. Singing, dancing, basically mixing up with people is what
Right.
I love.
So is this some passion that you've had pehle se, or you're just exploring new things? Like I am
Just-
doing this.
Yeah, exploring.
Okay.
Like talking to your podcast. This is something I'm exploring and I
Right.
love it.
I think a lot of doctors don't allow themselves
Yes.
free time, and then
Yes.
you start seeing burnout.
Yes.
कुछ ना कुछ hobbies और
होना
time
ही
off होना चाहिए.
होना चाहिए.
You should be able to switch off from
Yes.
being a doctor at
Yes.
times and do other
Yes.
things.
Absolutely.
Um,
Many times it's a myth that in the early stage of your practice, like maybe 5, 7, 10 years, you have to slog it out 24/7. But what I suggest is, see, आप वो 10 साल कर भी लेते हैं, आप सही करते हैं, आप बहुत सक्सेसफुल होते हैं, but then you end up with your health problems. How good is it for you and your family?
I know.
So maybe you should strike. And I think the newer generation are much sorted out.
I
They have these.
My health is a direct example of what you just said.
Yes.
Where I first came back from my fellowships and all.
Lot of us have gone. Like I would say almost 99% of doctors.
I was working 13-14 hours at a stretch,
Yes,
and this happened.
Yes, it's like you're flooding your body with cortisol
Right.
and all the stress hormones. So, but I see this shift in the younger the Gen Z. They are very sorted. They have a very practical perspective. They may be indulging in group practice, and then they sort out their ways of having a me time, and so it's a healthy thing.
They know when to switch off.
Yeah, they do, and they do it nice.
Yeah, and they don't. I think हम लोगों में it is ingrained कि work.
Yes,
It is
yes. I
ingrained.
mean, like ever since this beginning of our medical
Right.
training, we are supposed to like it was almost sinful to go and enjoy. It's
Yes.
like, how can you go out and sing? You should be slogging it out really hard. They give you a guilt trip, right?
Yeah.
But that's not true. Don't
What
listen
was
to
your
them.
most memorable moment on the stage?
On stage? I'll say two.
Mm.
One was this drama that I did in Rotary Club. Bhabhi ji ghar par hai. You remember this character called Anguri Bhabhi? Sahi pakde hain.
I
Yes.
don't have television or knowledge.
I have never heard that lady or seen that serial, but I enacted that character, and for years after that, I was known by that character in the Rotary
Anguri
Club.
Bhabhi.
Bhabhi ji.
Okay.
But it was a complete drastic contrast to what my actual personality
Right.
is. But it was fun.
It was fun.
The
Nice.
practice rehearsals, the entire gang, the group which was, the script which was there, the director, it was all fun.
Your advice to any doctors who is having burnout and he or she is having no outlet.
I'll tell you 2-3 things. First and foremost, please diagnose that you're having a burnout and accept it.
Denial
Don't be
is
in
the
denial.
first thing. I know. Everything starts with
Seek
acceptance.
help. Yes. For the spouse and family. Please support. You need to support your loved ones.
Absolutely.
It's no good telling them 10 times again and again, nagging them. See, I told you. It doesn't work. You have to maybe plan a vacation, take him or her out, relax, start counseling, start a hobby, remind, give them time. घर का काम इतना होता है कि एक्सरसाइज कर नहीं पाते हैं. आप काम में सपोर्ट कर दो, आप बच्चों का ध्यान दे दो, होमवर्क करा दो, go to the gym, go play, go run, do like that. So it's not going to be a single person's job. You need the help of your family, your
I know.
spouse. So it's very crucial.
Nogs,
Hmm.
you were secretary.
Yes.
What was the key
Wow, that was in
takeaway from that
COVID
experience?
times. It was one of the most challenging years because
Okay, what is Nogs for people?
Oh, it is Nagpur Obstetrics and Gynecological Society.
Right.
That is the association of all the OBGYNs in Nagpur.
Right.
So we have this 3-tiered system in our country. One is at the city, then another is at the state level, and then the other one is the national body, that is Foxy.
Foxy, huh?
Yeah. So at NOGS, I was the secretary. That was the COVID year. So my tenure started in April 2020. And we had no clue how we are going to go about it. So learning the Zoom thing, the WebEx, the webinars, all the competitions, all the meetings, everything had to be held online. It was a massive learning experience for me.
I think for every doctor this
Yes.
was a new experience. But during COVID deliveries and all, में क्या protocols did you set?
Actually नहीं फर्क पड़ा.
नहीं पड़ा.
We still had our COVID hospitals converted to delivery centers.
Okay.
Because the patients who had already conceived would definitely come and deliver. We had, of course, I would like to tell that we actually had a massive rise in the number of MTPs, the legal abortions for which people came to us. But then the deliveries never came down.
Okay.
They were as it is.
What challenges do you see urban women facing nowadays?
The biggest juggling of work-life balance.
Is it getting harder or easier?
It has to be mindfully accepted by the couple and family. Because if you are of a patriarchal mindset and you expect your wife to mother you, you're being unfair to her. Because the generation has changed. The girls these days have different challenges. And she doesn't see her husband as a provider. She sees her husband as a companion, as a partner, as an equal, as a friend actually.
Right.
And मुझे ऐसे पर्सनली ऐसे लगता है कि मैरिज में वो दोस्ती हमेशा रहनी चाहिए जिंदगी भर. Even if you're like 70, 75, 80, you should still be friends. You should keep bickering. You should keep on
Yes,
teasing. You should
exactly.
be romantic. You should flirt.
I know.
सो वो माइंडफुली एक कपल को इनग्रेन रखना पड़ता है रिलेशनशिप में. वो ज़रूरी है.
But are these patriarchal mindsets changing? Do you see? Or it's still the same?
No, I don't think they are changing. they may do all these things on Instagram and Facebook, but when it comes to the actual nitty gritty, how you actually put it to practice, put it to work, it's still the same. ऐसा भी हम देखते हैं कि the boy wants to help, but then the parents are like, why are you doing that? Why are you working in the kitchen? So ऐसा नहीं है. The times are changing very much.
Very slowly. Change is coming, but very slowly. That's what you're saying.
It's completely the marriage is to be decided by the couple.
That's
We
very
are
true.
only external paraphernalia. We
I
are
know.
the family, the mother-in-law, father-in-law. They are all external factors. हमारा अंदर में क्या हो रहा है, ये हमारा केमिस्ट्री जो है, हमारा जो इक्वेशन है, ये हमारा बॉन्ड स्ट्रांग होना जरूरी
Very
है.
true. जैसे श्वेता एंड आई ऑलवेज टॉक कि यू एंड आई आर वन टीम.
Yes.
बाकी
one
सब
team.
अलग हो गया.
Team. See,
हाँ,
that's the
yeah.
right word you use. Team. अपन एक टीम.
Yes.
बाकी फिर ऐसा है कि बट फिर देखो, अभी जब आप कहते हो वेस्टर्नाइज्ड कॉन्सेप्ट है ये, एज अ टीम इफ़ यू वर्क, द कपल इज़ द मैरिज. बट देन इफ़ यू से दैट ओके, अब मैं डिलीवरी हो गई, अब मैं मम्मी के घर जा रही हूँ, 3 महीने वहाँ पड़ी रहूँगी, मम्मी मेरा सारा काम काज करेगी. तो यूएस में तो ऐसा होता नहीं, वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड में तो
नहीं होता है.
द गर्ल्स डिलीवर, गो बैक होम, स्टार्ट कुकिंग एंड क्लीनिंग.
I know.
So फिर हाउ डू यू वांट इट टू बी सो कन्वीनियंटली शिफ्टिंग? You take the onus, take a paternity leave, stay back, help your wife.
India
And
में
then-
paternity leave is not allowed. We
It's
see
there
that
for
in
15
Nordic
days
countries.
in
है क्या?
yes,
Okay.
15 days in some of the even lot of IT companies now have come
But
up
government doesn't have.
with 15 days.
Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good initiative.
Yes.
How do we tackle the stigma around PCOS and menopause both?
Menopause is a taboo subject.
Hmm.
PCOS is a stigma.
Why taboo?
Because it is such an embarrassing thing that people don't want, ladies don't want to talk about it.
What is embarrassing? I'm sorry.
So menopause means you're losing your sexuality, you're losing your beauty, you're losing your health. You sneeze, you have pee leaking out. It's very embarrassing. You have mood swings, you're not getting your periods, you feel dry, you have these temper issues. You don't look, you have starting skin aging changes. Maybe your desires or libido is going down. Lot of changes happening for generations this has been happening. Have we ever heard our grannies or chachis or mamas talking about these things? No, it has always been a hush zanana topic के like ऐसा हो रहा है, क्या करे, वैसा हो रहा है. It never even came to the husband. It was understood कि अरे 40-45 में हो गई है, मम्मी अभी चिक चिक कर रही है, मम्मी इरिटेट होती है, मम्मा चिड़चिड़ करती है, बस. It was like a point of teasing.
Right.
But why that's
was never
happening
addressed.
was never addressed.
Right.
And it is a serious concern. It was never in anybody's thought कि okay, she needs help and support. You need to address the elephant in the room. वो कभी नहीं होता था, अभी शुरू हुआ है. Lot of these influencers are now starting to talk and share their own issues related to perimenopause and menopause. So now slowly थोड़ा सा तो भी, जैसे हम लोग स्कूल हेल्थ में भी जाके बातें करते हैं ना. So if we have a session of boys and girls and we discuss about the menstruation, there is a hushed giggle around, which is now changing. So you have to train your boys. They know everything already. They get it through all the wrong sources on the internet. Might as well you tell them that this is how a girl's physiology works. When she hits her teens, she's to start her periods. Around 45, she's going to lose it. And then these are the changes in her body and mind which will happen. By that time, she will be a mom, she will be a wife. So you have to support her. So ये हमें बताना ज़रूरी है. That is the problem menopausal ladies face nowadays.
But perimenopausal care
Same,
में what is it
same.
that you do nowadays?
So perimenopausal care should actually start right in your second decade, like 20s and 30s.
Oh really?
So हम कहते हैं सोया मिल्क पियो, फाइटोएस्ट्रोजेंस है, उसका फ़ायदा नहीं होने वाला है उस समय. जब तक आपने एक्सरसाइजिंग शुरू नहीं कर रखी है 20s में, जब तक आपने बोन हेल्थ वहाँ से बिल्ड नहीं करी है, तो यहाँ आके आपको ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस में बहुत ज़्यादा हेल्प नहीं होगा. That is the thing. And then you need to support her, you need to help her. She's going to feel very hot, she may be irritable. Just have some patience. She needs her health checkups, whether she has malignancy, pap smear, breast changes. You have to support her, remind her. Forgetfulness आ जाता है. तो ये सारा पैकेज में it's a bumpy journey for her. just hang around with her. That's the only thing it's expected from a partner or a son or a daughter.
What I see nowadays in OPDs, and this is documented also, कि post menopausal जैसे osteoarthritis वगैरह
Yes.
होता है, we see a lot of dryness in the eyes
Yes.
post menopausal,
Yes.
and most dryness में आप over the counter drops ले लो, you will always be fine.
Okay.
But post menopausal का जो dryness होता है, that's a very different kind of dryness. There is a certain SOPs how you diagnose
Yes,
it,
yes.
grade it,
Yes.
and then you give certain kind of drops. What I have seen is over the counter आजकल छोटे मोटे स्टेरॉइड्स तो मिलते ही हैं,
हाँ.
कुछ भी डाल के आ जाते हैं, then they land up in secondary glaucomas.
हाँ.
And it is I have to explain to them कि what you're doing is absolutely
Right.
terrible.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
and then when I start digging deeper, so they don't know what vitamin D3 is, they don't know what B12 is.
Correct.
I mean, these are educated people.
Correct,
ऐसा नहीं है कि they don't come
But वो
from an
concept ही नहीं
uneducated
है ना,
background.
because कि menopause में आपको help की ज़रूरत है.
Exactly.
It is in maximum family. It's like, okay, keep quiet. Just one of the things.
हाँ.
We all have gone through it.
हाँ.
It's okay. You focus on your husband, focus on the child, focus on the girl's daughter's marriage, because it's that decade absolutely coincides with these emptiness syndrome, these health issues, relationship problems, your own troubles in health. So it's a big turmoil for the lady, but that she needs help and she can get help at the gynecologist.
Building mentorships for women in medicine. What works?
The mindset of the mentee.
Do female doctors get enough guidance from seniors?
If they ask for it, they do. But sometimes these girls come nowadays with this holier than thou aura.
हाँ.
I know it all. I have a PDF. I don't need the teacher. So,
But you know,
So then it-
no
it is-
PDF can teach you how to operate.
I hope many people understand. that.
No PDF, no textbook will ever teach you how to handle a tissue.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
वो आप जब तक फोर्सेप्स से आपको आपका सीजर
बिल्कुल।
नहीं सिखाएगा कैसे पकड़ना है,
बिल्कुल. जब
And-
तक आपका मेंटर आपको
ना-
सिखाएगा नहीं ऐसे सूचर करना है, आपको नहीं समझ.
पॉसिबल ही नहीं है.
No amount of mannequins is going to help you with
Absolutely.
that.
We go to conferences and they have these AI demos
Right.
कि you can learn suturing on an eye.
Right.
आई का स्क्लेरा एंड कॉर्निया इज 500 माइक्रोन्स का है, उस पे यू आर डूइंग इट विथ एन एआई. आई डोंट थिंक इट इज, यू हैव टू फील द टिश्यू. आप कुछ भी करो, एंड नो पीडीएफ, नो, पॉसिबल ही नहीं है.
जी.
आई डोंट नो व्हाई दे हैव दिस थिंग, पता नहीं.
So mentors have always been there. गुरु हमेशा होता है. स्टूडेंट को उसके सामने आके
आई नो.
अम्बली खड़े रहना है कि मुझे आप दर्शन, आप यू जस्ट गाइड मी.
हाँ.
आई डू इट, आई वॉक द पाथ, बट यू जस्ट गाइड मी.
हाँ.
तो वो माइंडसेट जब भी रहेगा ना, यू विल प्रॉस्पर, यू विल सक्सीड. सक्सेस विल नेवर स्टॉप.
I know. I was in Pune. One of my boss was one of my mentor. I still talk to him when I
हाँ.
have a difficult case,
Yes.
or
Yes.
even when I'm feeling low, I'll just give him a call. I have my
Correct.
mentor like that.
That's exactly what is the difference between a teacher and a
Yeah.
mentor.
So, when I was going through a particular phase of learning surgery, I was like, sir, ये नहीं जम रहा है. He's like, बाकी सर्जरी जम गया. This was just around closing the case somewhere. He's like, बाकी जम गया. And then he gave me a few cases. He's like, okay, this is, you've perfected this. यहाँ पे you're blocking, so you will not do this part of the surgery anymore.
Oh, okay. See?
He gave me 60 cases of only the last part of वाला जो मेरे को problem जा रहा था.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's how people
And
will
that
always
was
be there to
phenomenal.
help you.
हाँ.
You know, you. But आपको वो हाथ सामने करना है कि भाई मैं I need help.
हाँ, बस. Now with this last part before I let you go.
Sure.
How do you balance motherhood and medicine?
Motherhood and medicine. Oh, I have been blessed with two sons who are very matured and understanding.
One of them just scored very top NEET ना शायद.
Yes, he was All India rank 1
हाँ.
and he is now studying at AIMS Delhi.
My God.
So yeah, I'll say it's grace. I'm just blessed that they both are very very understanding and not too demanding, not a handful on my hands. So I just need to go and tell them कि ये करना है भाई, ये सब करना है इस तरीके से और करो, मैं हूँ आपके साथ, तो कर लेते हैं दोनों. एंड अभी तो ऐसा सीन है कि रोल रिवर्सल हो गया है
कैसे?
कि अभी तो जैसे पहले मैं उनको समझाती थी, ज्ञान देती थी, नाउ दे बोथ आर ट्राइंग टू टेल मी कि यू नो दिस इज हाउ यू शुड वर्क, दे रिमाइंड मी यू शुड रिलैक्स, समटाइम्स आई गेट अ लिटिल स्नैपी, लाइक व्हाई आर यू एंग्री, शुड हैव यू बीन टायर्ड, डिड यू हैव अ लॉन्ग डे. So it's, and on various different topics in life, they now have their very nice different
Insights.
fresh perspectives and
Yes.
opinions, which sometimes discussing with them I feel अरे यार ये तो छोटू सा कल का डायपर वाला बच्चा था, ये बड़ा कैसे हो गया.
But a lot of parents are not open to this perspective बच्चों का
No,
लेना.
I
you know.
actually, me and my husband both, we have always made it a point to engage meaningful and sensible conversations,
Conversations,
age
right.
appropriate conversations with them,
That's very
without
important.
be doing a gibberish and baby talk. Like ऐसा है वैसा है, we try to tell them the facts. I think that is what has helped them be very mature and
Very true.
sorted.
What have you learned both as a doctor and then being as a parent?
Patience.
Patience. Very true.
Big time. Being a mother of 2 teenage boys right now, that's the biggest thing. I'm still not perfect at it, but I think the first thing that you need to bring to the table is patience. कि आप यदि शांति से सुन लो ना उनकी बात, तो फिर उसके बाद आपका पर्सपेक्टिव सुनने में वो तैयार होते हैं.
Definitely.
So it's they. Otherwise, if you are like no, I am the boss, I am the parent. You have to listen to me. अभी की जनरेशन वैसे नहीं कर रही.
नहीं.
And it's not true also, because they really have some very different perspective. The students also that I teach in college, हम जिनको जेन जी बोलते हैं, वो ऐसी पूरी बकवास जनरेशन नहीं है, बड़ी अच्छी जनरेशन है. दे हैव सम वेरी स्टर्लिंग क्वालिटीज, दे आर वेरी सॉर्टेड, दे हैव अ हाई IQ, हाई EQ also.
Very true.
Apart from the fun that we make, that they come with their baggage of mental health, पर काफ़ी उनसे सीखने लायक बहुत है. आप यदि उनसे किसी से एक प्रॉपर कन्वर्सेशन होल्ड करें ना, तो दे विल टीच यू अ कपल ऑफ नाइस
I
थिंग्स.
get a lot of patients in my 20s ना.
हाँ.
The kind of things they're doing in their life,
Yes.
it just blew my head away.
Yes.
And when I think back, we were useless in our 20s. हमने
Actually.
सब useless हरकतें जितनी
बिकॉज
लाइफ में
हमें
होती है,
क्या
सब
बताया
किया
था
है.
जिंदगी में,
हाँ.
केवल एक ही काम करना है, पढ़ाई.
बस.
एकेडमिक्स इज द ओनली थिंग दैट वाज आवर वैल्यू सिस्टम. वैल्यूएशन एक ही चीज़ पे होता था, मार्क्स कितने आए.
बराबर.
पर अभी ऐसा नहीं है, और वो सही भी नहीं था. इनफैक्ट नाउ दैट आई लुक बैक, ऐसे नहीं सही है.
बराबर. What is the biggest internal strength? Or what do you rely on when things get really tough?
माई ओन कोर वैल्यू सिस्टम.
Okay.
I generally tend to go back to that referral system कि क्या है, क्या सिखाया गया है, and morals and ethics.
बढ़िया. What is one myth about gynecologists that you would like to break? Or maybe 2 or 3.
In my workspace right now, I am going to tell it very loud and clear that OBGYN department doesn't need to be toxic to work successfully.
Okay. It just brought memories.
I know. All the male interns run away.
But other than the department, what do you get totally wrong about? What do people totally get wrong about gynecology as a field? General
So
public.
they just think that we are like glorified midwives.
Uh,
They think that सीजरियन ही तो करना है, क्यों इतने पैसे भी क्यों ज़रूरत है.
really?
Oh yeah, big time. They have big time troubles paying us for our efforts. We are looking at 2 lives, you know, when we are monitoring a labor.
Right.
So we need to be paid decently. But हार्ट अटैक आया तो गहने बेच के भी बिल दे देंगे. बट सिजेरियन करना है तो मैडम थोड़ा और कम कर दो. तो वो सही नहीं है. वी आर एट पार विथ ऑल दी अदर ब्रांचेस. इनफैक्ट वी हैव मोर मेडिको लीगल इश्यूज़. हमारी मॉर्टेलिटी होती है तो उसका बहुत बड़ा बवाल होता है.
Very true.
2 लाइव्स हैं हमारे सामने, तो हम बहुत मेहनत करते हैं. एक्चुअली उसी वजह से ना बहुत सारी औरतें, ऐसा एक फीलिंग आ गया, अरे गायनी में चिड़चिड़ करते रहते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है.
हाँ, मतलब
You have a good team,
You work
you
in
have
very
a
high risk scenarios.
very
चिड़चिड़ होगा ही ना.
constant, and it's 24/7. No, the baby will
Right.
pop out at any time, any hour of the day,
Very
night.
true. So for me, just I'm asking for me, high risk consent वगैरह तो आप लेते ही होगे ना
सब
ऐसे
लेते
इसमें,
हैं,
right?
है ना. पर फिर वो कैसा है कि जहाँ लेबर डिलीवरी वो जच्चा बच्चा वो सब सीन आया तो फ्री में करा दो, कम में करा दो, सस्ते में निपटा दो, वो एक माइंडसेट है सोसाइटी का. They will have a posh car, state of the art phones, everything. They will come from a well-to-do family, everything. But through all the strata of society, they think that ये तो क्या हमारे घर में आया बाया का काम है ऐसा.
वो अफ्जल में वैसे ही है.
हाँ वो तो जो आई थिंक वो हेल्थ की तरफ ही नज़रिया लोगों का गलत है कि हम सोचते नहीं कि ये इम्पोर्टेंट है और उसमें भी आप इन्वेस्ट करके रखो या कुछ पैसा अलग से रखो अभी हेल्थ के लिए, वो है नहीं लोगों का सोच.
Awareness for cervical cancer vaccinations.
Yes.
A lot of young people नहीं लेते. आप what do you do about that?
लेना चाहिए.
है ना?
Actually till now it is not a part of our schedule in the government schedule, but a lot of girls are approaching us, and my suggestion to all of them would be please take your HPV vaccine as per your protocol by your gynecologist. So it can start as early as 9 years of age. 9 years till 13 years you need only 2 doses. There is no booster dose needed. 14 years and onward up to 45 years of age ladies can have that. But the most ideal would be to take that vaccine before onset of sexual activity. That is the most ideal thing. So the efficacy, the advantage is maximum. But ऐसा नहीं है, आप 20s में भी है, 18, 19, 20 में भी है. If you have had a already contact हो चुका है फिर भी आप ले सकते हैं. So it is advantageous.
Then about this also, ना breast cancer and mammography भी कितना regularly करना चाहिए?
Yes. It so American College of OBGY gives us guidelines that 30 years and onwards you should do it at least once a year, and then up to 45 if everything is normal, then every 2 years, so you can even stop it. But the risk increases if you have a person with if you have a family history.
Obviously.
से आपकी मम्मी को या मौसी को या बुआ को इनको यदि है, then your the monitoring screening has to be more frequent. Also there is this new concept of looking at the BRCA oncogene. They do a genetic blood test as early as maybe 18 or 19. You can see if that gene comes out to be positive, then you can finish up your reproductive career, you're having your babies earlier, and then you could actually do a hysterectomy और ovaries आप निकाल के रख सकते हो. सो उस तरीके के ऑप्शंस होते हैं, बहुत ऑप्शंस हैं, बट यू हैव टू मीट योर डॉक्टर इन गुड टाइम फॉर दैट. सो स्पेशली विमेन में ना ये स्क्रीनिंग वाला कॉन्सेप्ट भी अगेन इट्स नॉट टू मच. स्क्रीनिंग यानी क्या कि डिजीज़ अभी है नहीं पर क्या आप एट रिस्क है वो आप जान सकते हैं. सो यू कैन बी अलर्ट, अवेयर, इन्फॉर्म्ड बिफोर द डिजीज़ एक्चुअली शोज अप. इन आवर कंट्री वी डोंट डू स्क्रीनिंग. डिजीज़ आया तो डायरेक्ट फिर डॉक्टर के पास जाते, फिर डायग्नोसिस होता है, नॉट स्क्रीनिंग. सो ये कंसेप्ट लड़कियों को बताना जरूरी.
बट आई गेस ये सब फील्ड्स में ट्रू है.
ये सभी फील्ड्स में
जब तक कुछ होता नहीं नोबडी गोस टू द डॉक्टर.
इन अ कंट्री मैं पूरा ही बोल रही हूँ. इवन मेडिसिन में जैसे कोलेस्ट्रॉल आप बढ़ना है क्या, आपको हार्ट की परेशानी होगी क्या, एक ECG एको करवाएंगे, जो भी स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट बताई जाती है वो नहीं करते.
बट आई गेस द वर्ल्ड इज चेंजिंग टुवर्ड्स प्रिवेंटिव मेडिसिन फ्रॉम एविडेंस बेस्ड मेडिसिन से थोड़ा प्रिवेंटिव से भी अपन
मतलब प्राइमोडियल प्रिवेंशन पे आना है अभी हमें कि वो उस तरफ आना ही नहीं चाहिए, वो रिस्क फैक्टर्स ही नहीं होने चाहिए.
बराबर. दिस इज अ गुड थिंग. वन फाइनल मैसेज टू अ यंग डॉक्टर.
वर्क हार्ड, पार्टी हार्डर.
वुमन स्ट्रगलिंग विथ हर फर्टिलिटी.
Fertility. Seek help ASAP.
हाँ. Girl whose mother is a doctor.
Stay calm and enjoy your mom.
What does legacy mean to you today?
It's grace.
And
heavy mantle on my shoulders.
And what keeps you going even after all this?
My inner spirit.
Yes. This was fun. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I had a really fun time.
Totally my pleasure. It's so nice to talk to you.
But you know, I think I'll call you again. We'll just select one topic and we'll just go deep into that. Kabhi to bhi, hai na?
Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.